So this is the As the World Turns segment of our Clint Eastwood podcast series we've been doing lately. We're going to talk today about his relationship, acrimonious, yes, but they were very successful for 1 year together, with the married actress and later director Sondra Locke. Now, he met her at a meeting set up by a mutual friend, Joe Himes, on Universal Lot. Her lifestyle was congruent to his, as she had married for societal purposes while conducting a succession of affairs that were withheld from public view. The two began living together during the production of The Outlaw Josie Wales in Page, Arizona in October 75, by which time, according to Locke, he had told me that there was no real relationship left between him and his previous paramour. Locke wrote in her autobiography, Clint seemed astonished at his need for me, even admitting that he'd never been faithful to one woman, because he'd never been in love before, he confided. He even made up a song about it. She made me monogamous. That flattered and delighted me. I would never doubt his faithfulness and his love for me. Now, after Josie Rapp, Locke moved into the Sherman Oaks house Eastwood had once shared with Johnson, who by then lived full-time in Pebble Beach. Now, the idea about this is very, very strange. Maggie Johnson, again, met her in 1953. She was a secretary for an auto parts suppliers industry in Americana. Now, according to biographer Patrick McGilligan, the Johnson was scheduled to graduate from UC Berkeley that June. In the meantime, Eastwood left for Seattle, where to please the girl he dug, he joined a little theater group. Now, the unnamed young woman became pregnant by Eastwood and placed her child a girl from adoption. Daughter Laura Murray was adopted by Clyde Elwin Warren and the former Helen I. Smith. Her existence went entirely unremarked in the press until 2018, when she was publicly acknowledged as the Eastwood child for the first time at age 64. Meanwhile, Johnson announced her engagement to Eastwood in October 53. They married on December 19th, and before the identified Seattle girl gave birth to Lori. Lori would go on to work as an elementary grade school teacher in South Kislip School District. Now, Eastwood's inexplicable marriage to Johnson had further problems. He thought they were too young, according to a biographer, not well enough established. Actress Mamie Van Doren later reported she had an affair with Eastwood while working in a film starring in Dust in 55, and she starred and played in a supportive role. Now, he had numerous affairs through the year, including Ingrid Stevens, Joanne Harris, Jill Banner, Catherine Deneuve, Susan St. James, and possibly restaurant critic Gail Green. And also a fling with French model Kathy Reagan, another French model, Daniel Cotet, and Gene Seberg as well. So his relationship with Locke wasn't surprising a lot of people because he liked people who worked in the industry. Now, after Josie Wales Rapp, he moved into Sherman Oaks house Eastwood once shared with Johnson, but felt uncomfortable there because psychologically it would always be Maggie's. Finally, I told Clint that I couldn't live there any longer, wrote Locke. The couple moved to Bel Air in a fixer-upper that took some 3 years to renovate. In the interim, they shuttled between homes in Tiburon, California and Sun Valley, Idaho, as well as the Rising River Ranch, which Eastwood bought from Bing Crosby's estate. Allegedly, Locke had 2 abortions and then a tubal ligation during the late 70s. She was quite reluctant to have the second abortion. She later said, I couldn't help but think that the baby, with both Clint's and my best qualities, would be extraordinary. Now, Johnson made no secret of dislike for Locke, even though the two women never met. Maggie placed severe rules on my relationship with Clint's kids. Apparently, she never forgave me. After she learned that Clint had taken me onto her property to show me a baby deer that had just been born there, she laid down a rule that I was never to be allowed there again. I was not even allowed to phone the Pebble Beach house. Now, eventually, in late 78, Johnson retained an attorney to file for legal separation from Eastwood. Earlier that year, she had finally accepted the fact that Locke was not like any of the affairs of their past. Divorce papers, however, would not be filed until May 1884. The divorce was finalized in November 19 of that year, with Johnson receiving a straight cash settlement purported to be between $25 and $30 million. So, as we like to say in the business, a big price to pay for the soulmate. Now, for her part, Locke never divorced her first husband, her lawful husband, Gordon Anderson, since 1967. Anderson, a sculptor and a former stage actor, was according to published reports, gay and resided with his younger boyfriend, John McKee, in a West Hollywood home purchased by Eastwood. The Locke-Anderson union has always been a marriage of convenience only and was never consummated. According to court testimony, Locke said of the unorthodox arrangement, "I truly believe that Clint and I did not need papers to validate the commitments we had made with each other." Now, Eastwood and Locke remained teamed on screen for the Gauntlet, Every Which Way But Loose, Bronco Billy, Any Which Way You Can, and Sudden Impact. According to former longtime associate Fritz Maines, Eastwood was devoted to her between 76 and 80 at the least, but discreetly kept up several maintenance relationships during that period. "I marveled at it." According to Maines, it was absolute total blind love. According to another biographer, the relationship began to disintegrate when Locke chose to remain married to Anderson after Eastwood had divorced Johnson. Locke said she would be willing to divorce Anderson if Eastwood agreed to go to couples therapy with her, but refused. Now, according to published reports, Eastwood returned to his habitual womanizing in the early 80s, becoming involved with story analyst Megan Rose, actress Jamie Rose, who played a pit part in Tightrope, Annabelle rights activist Jane Brolin, who had intermittent liaisons between Eastwood from the early 60s and the late 80s, and Jacqueline Reeves, a stewardess you reportedly met at a restaurant in Carmel, the Hog's Breath Inn. Now, Eastwood was still cohabiting with Locke when he conceived two children with Reeves, son Scott Eastwood, born Scott Reeves, and daughter Catherine Eastwood, born Catherine Reeves. The birth certificates of both children read "Father Decline." Eastwood's affair with Reeves was not reported anywhere until the expose article was published in Star in 1990. Reeves reportedly stated, "Some family members tell me to file a paternity suit against Clint, but I don't want to. The children's existence continued to be ignored by mainstream news sources through the mid-2000s." So, as we continue on, Eastwood's relationship with Locke, at the time unaware of his infidelities by her own account, ended acrimoniously in April '89, and the post-breakup litigation dragged on for a decade. Locke filed a palimony lawsuit against him after he changed the locks on her home and moved her possessions into storage when she was at work filming her second directorial feature, Impulse. In court, Eastwood downplayed the intensity of the relationship. He described Locke as a roommate before quickly redescribing her as a part-time roommate. Bill Brown, publisher of the Carmel Pinecone newspaper and a golfing pal of Eastwood, said, "Despite the public animosity, Clint told me not too long ago that Sondra was the love of his life." Locke's estranged half-brother, Donald, told a Tennessean that Eastwood still truly loved her but could no longer take her addiction to husband Gordon Anderson. Now, anticipating that Eastwood was going to misrepresent the marriage, Locke asked Anderson to surrender all claims on any of her assets that, as her legal spouse, was entitled to. In an extraordinary gesture of love and faith in me, Gordon signed away everything without hesitation. During the proceedings, an investigative journalist contacted Locke and informed her of Eastwood's utter family, which was freaky. Now, I spoke with the nurse in the delivery room, and she confirmed that they are Clinton's children. I'll send copies of the birth certificates to you and a forwarder of Jacelyn if you want them, Locke quoted the informant. My mind was still searching to get all these actions lined up. For at least the last 4 years, Clint had been living this double life, going between me and this other woman, and having children with her. 2 babies had been born during the last 2 years of our relationship, and you weren't mine. As the case progressed, Locke developed breast cancer and said the treatments sapped her will to fight. She dropped her suit in November '90 in exchange for a settlement package that included a lump sum plus monthly payments from Eastwood and a $1.5 million directing deal of Warner Brothers. But sued him again for fraud in '95 when she became convinced the deal was a sham, finally settling out of court in September '96. Now, Eastwood was listed as a material witness for Locke's separate pending action against Warner Brothers, which led that the studio conspired with him to sabotage her directorial career. But in May '99, that lawsuit too was settled, ending the legal saga. Over the following years, Locke made discrediting comments about Eastwood. She died in 2018, age 74. At the time of her passing, Locke had been legally married to Anderson for 51 years, leaving an estate worth $20 million. As the world turns, Clint Eastwood and Sondra Locke, like I said, reality is sometimes better than fiction. Thanks for listening. Bye.